With that, we are thrilled to welcome in NBA analyst and reporter for ESPN. It is Jamal Collier, who is part of the broadcast tonight between the Pistons and the Cavs all-access game. Jamal, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us today on UCSS.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Jamal, great to have you with us. There's not less excitement tonight because obviously Donovan Mitchell's not playing and James Harden might not play. But there's been a ton of excitement here in Cleveland, and we're not watching the Pistons, or at least I'm not watching the Pistons on any kind of regular basis. So impressed by the job they've done. Even though there's some guys missing, how exciting do you think this matchup will be tonight?
It's a good test for the Cavs, right? Like, they've been playing and on this roll here for a minute, really dating back to December. But the Pistons, as you've seen this week, they just had a test against OKC, against the Spurs, and they held their own against OKC's missing guys as well. One thing about going to play this Detroit team, it's just like any other Detroit team you've seen throughout history. It's going to be tough. It's going to be physical. They're going to beat you up. It's going to be hard to get to the paint. And that's just like regardless of who's on the floor for the Cavs. I think that level of physicality is important for them to get at this point in the season, and really sort of get used to that playoff level of physicality that they're going to see night in and night out. Detroit is really there's no better match for that throughout the entire conference.
Have you gotten a sense from anyone in Detroit about what JB's been able to do for their identity and their toughness and just the way that they play?
Jalen Duren and JB met during the off season. Went out to link up, work out together. Really, JB challenging Duren to sort of take a step, take more ownership, scoring the ball. Him and Isaiah Stewart, as far as a tandem, is really balling off the paint from teams. That's, I think, been the biggest difference that JB has brought, is that he has really unlocked Jalen Duren in a way that the Pistons have not in the past few seasons. It's just given them an extra lob threat, an extra vertical threat, an extra physical threat. Jalen Duren is just one of the guys, like, imposing, right? When you see you're next to that guy, he is big, strong, just a guy who beats you up. It just doesn't seem fun to play against. So I think, like, that's been the biggest difference for them. Cade is obviously having an amazing season, MVP-like season, but having Jalen Duren really take a leap this year to that next level, the all-star level, is taking the Pistons, I think, from a nice story and a good team to a chance that the team has got to shoot.
Is Cade Cunningham the best player America's never heard of? It just seems like, he's playing so good, but when you talk about top 10 players, when you talk about top 15 players, especially at guard, his name doesn't seem to be ringing out or mentioned with some of those other guys. Is he, as good as he is he kind of still underrated?
I think no question, and that just comes with the fact that they haven't had, national TV, big exposure games, really before last year's playoffs and coming into this season. I think people are learning and starting to really figure out how good Cade Cunningham is. And the crazy thing is, like, he is really, a heartbeat away from the MVP award at this point. When you look at the injury concerns at, SGA and Joker especially, there's a real world here in a couple of weeks if those guys continue to miss time and miss some more times before the end of the season, where you can see Cade all of a sudden shoot up. The odds have gotten tighter on that MVP award already. I saw a comp about Cade, and this compared it to that 2011 Bulls run. You had a point guard leading a really defensive-minded team, was sort of just a stacked 1 to 10, but one young point guard that was a former number one pick leveling up in the way that was able to sort of carry the rest of the team. And obviously D Rose won MVP for that 2011 Bulls team. And I really like the comp, and I'm really curious of how that's going to sort of stack up going forward. The Bulls team, of course, fell short in the Eastern Conference Finals, but they were a really tough team that won a lot of games. And I'd sense some comparison there of, like, young D Rose and young Cade, of just kind of where they are in their ascension at this point in their career.
Jamal, as you get ready for tonight's game, and you've been assessing the Cavaliers over the last couple of weeks. I think I saw you at the Knicks game earlier this week. I believe you were in town. Yeah. What do you make of the early impression of James Harden in a Cavaliers uniform and his fit specifically Like Jarrett Allen is playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like just couldn't have gone better. James is obviously like pick and roll. Jarrett Allen, that's just automatic, right? Like, that's a combo that you can see from the Clint Capella, Zubac. Like, there's a whole lot of bigs in that same mold that have benefited from playing with Harden. I think it's like the personality fit that I didn't realize was going to be as smooth. You know, James seems to be already, you know, he's chumming up with the young guys the other night in the locker room. He's kind of got that same easygoing feel that a lot of the Cavs guys have in that locker room. And he also just kind of meshes with Donovan. Think about, you know, the way their skill sets complement each other, scorer versus passer. You know, they sort of both have this similar point in their career. They've won a lot as the leading man. They've got all these accolades, accomplishments, all-stars, NBA and such. But it really fell short, I think, of those expectations in the playoffs. And that commonality, I think, is interesting. And I would be encouraged by, as a Cavs fan, to see just how much his passing has unlocked these guys. And another word that people in the locker room told me is just the confidence. Confidence and patience that he has controlling an offense at the end of the game, down the stretch, at any point. That's just something that the Cavs, you know, Donovan's a scorer. He's a guy who sort of can operate an offense, but it just gives you a different look. And I think Harden is really, it's early. It's honeymoon phase for sure for Harden. And a lot of teams go through this, but his fit with this team has just been much more natural than I think anybody could have expected before a move like this came along.
Jamal, if you had to pick who comes out of the East today,
I was just going to ask him that.
I beat
Got
you
you.
to it.
Got you.
I swear that's what I was going to ask him. That's really funny.
Who you taking? It's tough, obviously.
You know,
a little early for it, but it's fair.
I just had this conversation that the case for the Cavs, I think, is as strong as it's been all season. And I think that they, with this Harden addition, the level it unlocks, as I kind of just mentioned, with having that dichotomy with Mitchell, you just see the team just feels like they're playing with more confidence, playing more renewed. I mean, that Knicks game was really impressive, and the way that they just sort of took it to New York compared to the first meetings they had earlier in the year. I mean, I think if they started the tournament right now, they just tipped it off and say let's do the playoffs. Obviously, the Cavs have to get healthy and get back to full strength, but Harden compared with Keon, Ellis, Schroder, the way it lengthens out their team, I've been pretty impressed. I'm not just saying that because I'm here on this show, man. I've been really impressed with the way this is stacking up for Cleveland, and I think that early season adversity could end up being very good for them in the long run.
Well, both took my question, so
Sorry,
you got one.
I would actually, for me, I'm curious. I was leaning towards the Celtics, especially with the possibility with Tatum coming back. They're the most proven team, obviously, in the East. But I'm excited that you're picking the Cavs. So I like that.
It's just a wild card, the Tatum piece of it. Like, is he?
True.
What is that like? I think if I have to see him, is he hold up? Is he playing 20 minutes? Does he look like his old self? I think that there's such an element for them that I had to see it before I'm comfortable with them. I think this Knicks thing, the Knicks have had stretches. Every time I think they're back, they have a loss that makes me, think the otherwise. I think every time they think they're struggling, they sort of rattle off some wins. I think the Knicks are still the next team to me that I would put on that East power rankings. And that's take nothing from Detroit, man. Detroit's had an awesome season. I do think that this is a league that generally you have to lose, and it punishes teams a little bit. That's my only hesitation with Detroit, especially the game they had against the Spurs the other night. When they really kind of walled off Cade Cunningham, you saw Detroit struggle offensively, kind of to create offense outside of Cade. I think all four of those teams we just named, Boston, Cleveland, New York, Detroit. Mm-hmm. I mean, any of those teams win the East, and I think I have.
Tyvis Powell talked about it. He said, at this point, Evan Mobley went from the guy who we need to see take another step to, him being one of the sole guys to winning the championship. And now, because we feel like, especially in Cleveland, he's kind of taken a step back or hit a plateau when it comes to his offensive game. He's, to us, is an X factor. If he's playing well, you could beat a lot of teams. But the problem is you don't know when he's going to play well. What are your thoughts on Evan Mobley and his progression, and do you think he has hit a ceiling in terms of what he can be around the league?
I mean, it's funny that we just have had this conversation, right? And Evan's name hadn't come up until now, and I think that it does speak to another reason why I think this Harden move has become really effective. And Evan's obviously been working his way back from injury. I think he still has a better fit within this offense that they'll be able to hopefully find. Their hope they can find the rest of the year. But Harden takes pressure off of Mobley, right? Like, I think all the things that he's been able to do so far for Jarrett Allen, I think you'll be able to see him do for Mobley as they get more experience, more reps. And again, I just think that's why the Harden fit seems so natural and so like it's such a spot on player for this team, is that when Mobley's really feeling not involved, he has those spurts where he's kind of just kind of lost on offense. Harden is a guy who can recognize, maybe as well as anybody in the league at this point, as far as pure point guard, to recognize that, to feed Evan, to try to get him involved. He for sure has hit a plateau this season. I think a lot of people expected him to kind of continue rising offensively, and I think this is a really good mix for him. Sudden, it's not all about him. It's not all about his pressure to do everything. I think he can really just kind of be house money, that he adds everything he does offensively, just adds to this team.
Check out Jamal and the rest of the ESPN crew tonight, 7 p.m. Pistons, Cavs. We'll all be watching. Thank you, Jamal. We appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great call.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.